Welcome to the first episode of MTG Arena Brawl Showcase Series. Quite a long name, huh? Alright, so we'll start off with some basic information how I will handle this series. We'll be going through each my Brawl decks that I have. And first of all, I will talk a little bit about the deck list itself, then we will play 1 or 2 games depending on the length. Ready? Go. Alright, do you like smashing your opponent in the face for bazillion damage? Do you like a bazillion mana at your disposal? If yes, Garruk is here to help. So we'll start off with our commander, Garruk Huntsman for 6. We get Planeswalker Garruk, obviously, which comes to the battlefield with 5 loyalty counters. Disclaimer, there is no plus ability. Okay, so for 0, we create two black and green wolf tokens with when this creature dies, put a loyalty counter on each Garruk you control. You can shield yourself or Garruk using these wolves, or you can swing with them. In both cases, when they die, you get a loyalty counter on Garruk. For -3, destroy target creature, draw a card. Great. For -6, you get an emblem with creatures you control, get +3/+3, and have trample. Okay, so you're making your army even more hilarious. 1-drops. Knight of the Ebon Legion. 1/2 Vampire Knight. For 3, Knight of the Ebon Legion gets +3/+3 and gains Death Touch until the end of turn. Okay. At the beginning of your end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Knight of the Ebon Legion. Vampire of the Dire Moon. 1/1 Death Touch lifelink. Good blocker or early swinger, if you want. Arboreal Grazer. Our monkey guy. He's 0/3 without defender, but he has reach. When it enters the battlefield, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. So you are ramping yourself a little bit. Pelt Collector. 1 Elf Warrior. Whenever another creature you control enters the battlefield or dies, if that creature's power is greater than the Pelt Collector, put a +1/+1 counter on Pelt Collector. As long as Pelt Collector has 3 or more counters on it, it has trample. So we get a 1/1 guy that can grow in time. Whenever a bigger guy enters the battlefield, you get a counter. Whenever a bigger guy dies, you get a counter. Great thing is you are able to get Pelt Collector trample, because I really hate having like 8/8 creature without trample. Spork Harvest, first removal. You can pay 4 or pay 1 and sacrifice a creature to destroy target creature or planeswalker. Witch's Oven. I like using this card in my mono black standard, combined with Cauldron Familia, but it's not the case this time. You can tap it to create a food token and sacrifice a creature. If the sacrificed creature toughness was 4 or greater, you get 2 food tokens. So you can heal yourself, but the most important thing is you have an instant speed option to sacrifice your stuff, your wolves or whatever you need, to get tokens that you can sacrifice and gain free life, or sacrifice them to Vraska's first ability, if you need to. 2-drops. Priest of the Forgotten Gods. You can tap it and sacrifice 2 other creatures. Any number of target players each lose 2 life and sacrifice a creature. You add black and draw a card. So ramping, drawing a card, and pinging your opponents for 2. Fair enough. Elysian Curtainit. First mana dog. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, add 2 mana of any one color. Incubation Druid. 0/2 Elf Druid. You can tap it to 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. If Incubation Druid has a +1/+1 counter on it, add 3 mana of that type instead. And for 5, you can adapt 3, which means if this creature has no counters on it, put 3 counters on it. Paradise Druids. Another mana dog. With good upside, because as long as it's untapped, it has hexproof, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. So as long you're not tapping her for mana or you're swinging with Paradise Druid, it's immune to direct removal. Second removal that we run is Severed Strengths. For 2, you can sacrifice the creature. You gain life equal to the sacrificed creature toughness to destroy target creature an opponent controls. So you can sacrificing your wolves again, or hello there. Next we have the Elder spell. Extremely overpowered in my personal opinion, because for black you can destroy any number of target planeswalkers. Choose a planeswalker you control and put 2 loyalty counters on it for each planeswalker destroyed this way. So just imagine the havoc that you can cause playing against Bolas deck, for example, destroying 3 or even 4 planeswalkers with 1 spell, and putting hilarious 8 or 6 counters on Vraska and Garruk, making them casting their ultimate right away. Assassin's Trophy, destroy target permanent and opponent controls. Its controller may search the library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield. So you can destroy any permanent, but the downside is your opponent is searching for lands. Arcane Signet, just a mana rock. Add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity, which means green or black. Voracious Hydra. So spells with X are very versatile. You can cast them early in the game or late in the game if you want. So for green, and X, we get 0/1 Hydra creature, which enters the battlefield with X counters on it. And when it enters the battlefield, we get 2 different options to choose from. First, double the number of counters on Voracious Hydra. Okay. Or we can make Voracious Hydra fight target creature you don't control, turning it into removal. 3 drops, Midnight Reaper. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Midnight Reaper deals 1 damage to you and you draw a card. Sadly, it is stated that creature has to be a non-token creature, so no benefits from our wolves. But still, great card. Murderous Rider. For 3, you can cast an instant to destroy target creature or planeswalker, and then you lose 2 life. Or end, because you can cast it as an instant and then cast it as a creature, and when you're casting Murderous Rider as a creature, you get a 2/3 lifelinker. When Murderous Rider dies, put it onto the bottom of its owner's library. Sorry about that. Lovestruck Beast, 5/5 Beast Noble. That's interesting creature type. It can't attack unless you control a 1/1 creature. So that's kinda funny, because we get a big guy that can't attack and turns himself into the pacifist unless you control a girly girl token with a basket of apples. Anyway, you can cast a sorcery for 1 green mana to create a girly 1/1 white human creature token, and we ain't running many 1/1 creatures, so you have to really take care of this token if you want to swing with Lovestruck Beast. Next we have Thrashing Brontodon, 3/4 dinosaur. You can pay 1 to sacrifice it and destroy target artifact or enchantment. Another removal, a little bit different this time, because we can make target creature get -5/-5 until the end of turn, and if that creature would die this turn, exile it instead, which is perfect for dealing with indestructible creatures such as Terror's Gods or something. 4 drops. Things are getting a little bit more interesting. Nightmare Shepherd, 4/4 flyer. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's 1/1, and it's a nightmare, in addition to its other types. So every guy that you have, which is a non-token creature, whenever it dies, you can exile it and put a copy. Take in mind that, for example, if you have Hydra with 5 counters on it, it will return as a 1/1 without any counters. Rankle, Master of Pranks. 3/3 flyer with haste. Whenever Rankle deals combat damage to a player, choose any number from among 3 options. 1. Each player discards a card. 2. Each player loses 1 life and draws a card. 3. Each player sacrifices a creature. I think that we'll be using the last ability most of the time and sacrificing our wolves, for example. And if you have any spare lands or spells that you are not likely to be casting, you can dump them and make your opponent discard a card as well. Whatever suits your needs. Spawn of Mayhem. Flying Trample with 4 power and 4 toughness, and you can cast it for free if your opponent lost life this turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, Spawn of Mayhem deals 1 damage to each player. Then if you have 10 or less life, put a counter on Spawn of Mayhem. So this guy is pinging you and your opponent for 1. And when you're below 10 life, you'll get a counter on it during each of your upkeeps. Nalia, Key Knight. Legendary enchantment creature, God, 5/6, indestructible as long as your devotion is less than 5. Nalia isn't a creature. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So you're making your bigger guys cheaper, which is great. For free, you can reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature, you can put into your hand. If not, you may put it into your graveyard. So a little bit of creature scrying there. Beast Whisperer. 2/3 Elf Druid. Whenever you cast a creature card, draw a card. So we are running a lot of creatures. As you can see, 25 creatures, only 12 non-creatures. So massive draw engine. Questing Beast. Really great card. For 4 mana, you get a 4/4 with Vigilance, Death Touch, and Haste. Already broken. It can be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Okay. Combat damage that would be dealt by creatures you control can be prevented. Okay. And whenever Questing Beast deals damage to any opponent, it deals that much damage to target Planeswalker that player controls. Are you kidding me? Okay. Second Planeswalker that we are running is Vraska Golgari Queen. She enters the battlefield with 4 loyalty counters, 4+2. You may sacrifice another permanent. If you do, you gain 1 life and draw a card. So you don't have to sacrifice anything to +2 her. You'll not be getting the benefits. For -3, destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. And for -9, you get an emblem with whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. So just imagine squeezing with Big Trampler and you're done. Death Sprout. For green, black, and 1, you can destroy target creature, search your library for a basic land card, and put it on the battlefield tapped and shuffle your library. So it's kinda similar to Assassin's Trophy, I guess, but you're searching for a land and you can destroy only a creature, not a permanent. 5 drops. Clackbridge Troll. That's kind of funny because you are getting 8/8 Trampler with haste for 5 mana, which is bonkers. But when it enters the battlefield, you give your opponent 3 gifts, 3/0/1 gold tokens, stealing boots. it seems. At the beginning of combat of your turn, any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If a player does, you tap your troll, you gain 3 life, and you draw a card. So your opponent is choosing to get punched in the face for 8, or giving you 3 life and giving you a card in return for not attacking him with Clockbridge Troll. Doom Whisperer. For 5 mana, you get a 6/6 Nightmare Demon with Flying and Trample, and you can pay 2 life to Surveil, so you can set your top to dump any unnecessary spells or lands that you won't be using. First zombie guard that we are running is Bontu. So Bontu is 5/6 menace, legendary creature, zombie god. And when it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any number of other permanents, then draw that many cards. So you can sacrifice your lands if you need to, or you can sacrifice, you won't guess, wolf tokens to draw some cards. And when it dies or is put into the exile from the battlefield, you may put it into your library third from the top. So the same mechanic is for every other Amonkhet gods. Sir Conrad the Grim. I'm not really sure about Sir Conrad in this deck, but I'm a little bit dry in terms of having rare and mythic wildcards, so I'll be keeping him for now. For 5 mana, we get 5/4 legendary creature Human Knight, and whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad deals 1 damage to each opponent. So basically everything dying will ping your opponent for 1. Your tokens too. For 2 mana, each player puts the top card of the library into the graveyard. And the most bonkers creature in this deck, in my personal opinion, is God Eternal Ronas. For 5 mana, we get 5/5 Death Touch. Having Death Touch on 5/5 creature, it's not that great. But when Ronas enters the battlefield, double the power of each other creature you control until the end of turn. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. Just imagine punching your opponent in the face for 16 with Troll, or 30 with Hydra, like I did 2 days ago. You have to time it well when casting Ronas, or you can make a little trick if you have Nightmare Shepherd. You can destroy Ronas with Garruk, for example, put 1/1 copy, and the effect will trigger once again. Next we have Find and Finality. Sadly, we can cast both halves, like we were able to do so in Old Ravnica, but for 2, you can return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand, or for 6, you may put 2 counters on a creature you control, then all creatures get -4/-4 until the end of turn. So it's just kind of a board wipe, a little bit of one-sided board wipe, I guess. Next we have Casualties of War. I see a lot of guys dropping a game when they got hit with Casualties of War, because when you time it well, it's really, really devastating. For green, black, and 2, you can choose 1 or more destroy target artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. So if your opponent is running every card of the chosen types, you can destroy up to 5 different permanents for 6 mana, which is insane. Beanstalk Giant. For 3, you can cast a sorcery and search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Or for 7, you can cast a guy that has power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. Nothing special, but late game you'll have Beanstalk Giant like 8-8 or 9-9 or even more. The Great Hunch, extremely good artifact. For whooping 9, you can cast an artifact and tap it to add green and gain 2 life. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it and draw a card. But if 9 is a little bit too high for you, this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So you'll be able to cast it for 3 or for 4 mana, and lands nothing really special here. Castle Lock Twain enters tapped unless you control a swamp. You can tap it to add black, and for black and 1, you can tap it to draw a card. Then you lose life equal to the number of cards in your hand. So I like to call it an emergency draw. If you don't have any cards in your hand, you'll be pinging yourself for 1 to draw a card. Or if you don't really care about your life and you're just finishing the game, you can cast it whenever you want. 8 swamps, castle, Garruk enters the battlefield unless you control a forest. Tap to add green, and for 2 green, you can tap it to add 6 green, but you have to spend this mana only to cast creature spells or activate abilities of creatures. Then we have 8 forests, Overgrown Tomb, Common Tower, a staple, Fabled Passage, and Field of the Dead just for funsies. So there you go. We'll take Garruk for a spin and play 1 game. Alright, so we're playing against Dovin. Freelance, Spark Harvest, Mana Dog. I think that we can keep it. Hello, Mr. Banghu. Alright. Let's cast Common Tower. Mana Dog. So he'll be playing a little bit of control here. And I'm thinking, do I really want to cast Vraska and bait him into using his counter? Yeah.
I'm good at what I do.
+2.
And what I alive for a life.
Decline. Okay, Dovin.
Whatever your plans, they're statistically likely to fail.
So he'll be getting a loyalty counter whenever a creature he controls deals combat damage to a player. But we don't want him to swing at Vraska, so we'll drop Doom Whisperer. Use our opening.
Being ruthless has its rewards.
And I think that we can surveil at the end of turn.
Bully for you.
Okay, top
Don't
tier
mind
token.
if I enjoy this.
Mana Rock. And Steel Overseer. Okay, that's interesting. Tap puts +1/+1 counter on each artifact creature you control. Okay, so he will be pumping his top tier guys. Veil. Fair enough. Start attackers, my turn. Okay. So I don't feel like having this Overseer guy is great. So goodbye. And we will cast Murderous Rider. +2.
Don't dwell on what's about to happen.
Decline. So unless he will return Vraska to my hand or exile her, even if he swings with one top tier, I can cast the ultimate and end the game right away, I think. Yep. Leave Vraska alone, mates.
I'm still here.
Sweeper? Yeah, I knew it. Okay. I will surveil before it dies. Great. So resolve. Okay. Blah blah blah. Okay, I can
This
already
is no mere trinket.
say GG. -9.
The next wound will be fatal.
Franco. Swing with haste. Ta-da! There you go. I'm afraid that this episode will last for 50 minutes, so we'll end it here. And I think that I will make another video playing with every deck after I finish the deck lists. And you can also follow me on Twitch. You can find the link in my profile description for some daily MTG gameplays. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.